For thousands of years, many researchers, such as Charles Darwin and Robert Ridgway, have devoted decades to finding out just how our fine-feathered friends tick. From the patterns on the feathers to the graceful flight patterns, there are countless ways that make them extraordinary. My name is Cheyenne Riggs, and here are a few facts about why birds are way more fantastic than we thought. It's common knowledge that we can all see what is called the visible light spectrum. Unfortunately for us, that doesn't cover the entire light spectrum. There's still infrared and ultraviolet light. A lot goes on in these invisible areas that we have no hint of until we utilize modern technology that helps us use them to our advantage. But without these outside aids, our bodies are missing a few extra components that could make a big difference. Our eyes only come with 3 sets of cells called cones, which allow us to make sense of the rainbow of colors around us. Each cone is assigned a color that it picks up and then translates into what we see as color. Birds, on the other hand, have 4 different cones, red, blue, and green cones, just like our own eyes, and a 4th cone for the UV light spectrum. Because of this awesome discovery in avian eyesight, it's actually changed the way we look at birds. Many birds that might look plain, or even the ones that already look stunning, actually make an all-striking change when placed under an ultraviolet light. Their features light up in a brilliant display of colors, giving a whole new meaning to why the brightest males get picked first. This ability even helps the vicious birds of prey, in which we hadn't noticed before. Many rodents tend to leave a small trail of urine as they zigzag through tall grass, which of course to us humans is absolutely undetectable without the right tools, but to a hungry hawk, that trail lights up vividly and leads them straight to dinner, an unfortunate but still very cool end to many a poor rodent's life. Another remarkable discovery in the way birds see is a difference in our fovea. The fovea is a single spot on our retina that allows our eyes to focus on whatever we're looking at. Human eyes only contain one tiny dot in each eye that allows us to see clearly, but due to birds requiring extra assistance while flying, their eyes have developed superfovea based on each species' exact needs. Predatory birds such as falcons and eagles have 2 fovea in each eye, one that acts like a macro lens, allowing super crisp sight on faraway objects, and the other that is like a zoom lens, letting them hone in on the tiniest minuscule details. Seafaring birds, like seagulls, have a strip instead of a dot, keeping their horizon nice and crisp while they fly. You might recognize this little guy as a starling, a very abundant and peculiar species that was brought to the States by one of the very first immigrants that had quite an obsession with Shakespeare, who spoke of starlings often. The most fascinating thing about starlings, though, you might have seen it, is what is more formally known as murmuration. This grouping strategy is the key to being a starling in the first place. Starlings are actually very well known for their ability to maneuver through difficult situations with nearly seamless effort. Over the years, these birds have found some of the cleverest ways to evade even the most frightening of foes. Their threat response tactics have been dissected thoroughly, giving us a new understanding of the strange behaviors behind the starling. Scientists have recently discovered that these huge masses actually serve a huge purpose in the survival of these little aviators. Based on the selfish herd theory, starlings have discovered that the larger the mass of birds, the less likely you are to get eaten by a predator. The same concept is used by many African savanna herds such as zebras or wildebeests. This group mentality allows starlings to communicate in ways that turn 200 birds into one single efficient mind. Each starling in the group has an open line of communication between 6 to 7 other starlings around it, creating an endless chain from one bird to the next. This allows a huge network of eyes and ears to look out for dangerous hunters that might be in the area. The group communication allows for intricate maneuvers such as the rolling wave pattern, which is specifically crafted by the starlings to confuse and essentially lose a hungry bird of prey that might be trying to move in for a kill. Instead of allowing the predator to hone in on a single bird, by the time he's got one in his sights, 20 other starlings have darted across the exact same spot, making the enemy lose his concentration. The last absolutely brilliant fact about starlings is the way they even get into the giant swirling mass of feathers in the first place. They use a sort of virtual tipping point or phase transition, such as the exact point that one snowball turns into an avalanche, where one bird takes flight, then ends up calling every starling in the area to the sky, creating an instant safety net while on their way to the next destination. Some species would much rather spend their time building the perfect nest than flying in the air, like my last 3 feathered friends. The sociable weaver spends months creating huge intricate nests that resemble giant piles of hay on tops of trees or even telephone poles. These nests can have upwards of 100 different little apartments within the hulking structures, housing a collective mass of over 400 individual birds. The intricacy of the sociable weaver's nest is undeniably mind-blowing. Inside, the tunnels are lined with hard, sharpened sticks of straw that ward off any predator that might try to infiltrate the stronghold. Even in the insane desert weather, the infrastructure manages to stay a nice cool 60 degrees, while the outside temperature ranges between chilly 32 degrees to a scorching 160. Montezuma oropendulas also rely on the treetops to create their unique and strange-looking nests. Almost resembling raindrops made of straw, the oropendula creates a neighborhood of nests in the highest trees that are out in the open, allowing them to avoid the egg-stealing monkeys who don't like to be in such open areas. You'll also find that the oropendula likes to build its home very close to hornets or wasps, another tactic to keep the predators that do take to the trees away from their own tree. The basket-like hanging design is perfect for the Montezuma orompendula to live peacefully and raise their young without having to worry about pesky things like snakes or monkeys. Though there are many different subspecies of bowerbird, they all have one thing in common: their sense of style. Male bowerbirds will spend hours, even days, putting together the perfect nest to attract the perfect mate. The tall archway of brush is laced with colorful and shiny objects, picked especially for one lucky gal. They will even chew charcoal or berries to use as paint for the walls. While it looks like a pile of rubbish, the male bowerbird actually spends a lot of time and effort in placing each object with exact precision. They have actually been placing smaller items closer to the structure and larger items away to balance the pattern of prizes. They will even spend hours going around fixing any object that's been knocked out of place. This concludes my little informative piece I've put together in honor of all the amazing things that birds do that go unnoticed. I hope I've been able to pique your interest with my special little feathered friends. There are a few 100,000 other incredible things that go on around you every single day in nature. You just have to take the time to understand them. Thank you for watching.